Okay, so we're going to talk about your Fat Shark Dominators version 2. There's just a couple key features we're going to discuss. The first one being that the cool thing about this particular model is that it has a built-in panel which you can change this internal module for different frequencies. So as you move along, you can change to different frequencies, which have different advantages. Like lower frequencies will have better penetration and usually better range for less power. The other feature this has, which you won't be using, which is usually for larger craft, is what's called the head tracker. When it's turned on and you have it, it allows you to program it so as you tilt the goggles, you can have a camera that moves specifically for it. It's kind of a nifty feature. The only one I really have it on is specifically turned on, is on my big 960s. I could use it on one of my 450s, but I don't really use it that often on mine specifically. This module you'd have to pay for. It is not actually installed currently. The other thing is this particular version has a built-in recorder. So if you get a little micro SD card, you can put it in here and actually do the recording portion of it as well. It's quite nice when you have smaller craft like this that do not have built-in recording, so you can actually record what you physically see to show everybody. Just like everything else, there is an antenna. This type of antenna, if you notice, is different than the one that's on your remote. It's a circular antenna, just like right here. You have right hand and left hand. These are right-handed. The advantage of right-handed antennas is that they will cut out some multipathing, which is basically the reflection off of other stuff. So you get better video quality. It's kind of important when you're flying indoors because you're going to have a lot of walls, so it will help alleviate a lot of that. You also notice that the antenna is relatively small, which is common for 5.8. As you move up in frequencies, you get larger antennas. Like in mine, I normally have something like this because I fly with 2.4. And then if you wanted to get to something really big, you can go to 1.3, which gets kind of crazy. So as I said, there's different modules depending on what you need. You'll swap it out. Now, understand that this is flown at 5.8, but your remote is using 2.4. You can't use both the remote and the video being on the same frequency. You'll end up with a lot of trouble flying. The worst thing that'll happen is you lose control of your actual craft. So I generally, when I fly, is I'll fly. I currently usually fly 2.4 for my video, and then for my remote, you've probably seen in some other pictures, I have this huge antenna, which, because I usually fly 433 UHF, I'm using frequencies that you have to be licensed for specifically. So just like anything else, before you power it on, you should put the antenna on. It's not necessarily as important on the receiver side. It doesn't really damage anything, but if you don't have it on there, it's not going to end up doing a very good job. I also, if you notice, I put a 90 degree on here to make it easier. Some guys will just put this on directly and bend this up because this is, oops, this actually will bend and change direction. I don't like to use it that way. I find it to be just like this. I'll accidentally pull off the cover or something silly like that. So anyways, personal preference, I have it on the 90. The other thing, this right here, you can put, all the Fat Sharks have a nice little place to put the battery, so whenever you put it on, it'll store nicely right in there. So you'll see right now we are 100% static video. That's because we're not hooked up. So I'm going to show you here. We're going to turn this on. Note, before you ever plug the battery into the copter, you should always turn the power on to the remote. It's just good practice. Certain craft have a fail-safe on it, which basically means if it doesn't have the remote, it'll do a certain thing. Usually on a lot of the small ones, they're just set to do nothing. While on the bigger ones, you can have them set to do different things. A lot of times they also have to be armed as well for them to do certain things. So as I said, it's not usually a huge issue, but just be mindful that you don't want something crazy to happen if you happen to power this up without the remote on. You can ask Annalise about that. So Now we have this powered up. I'm going to show you what it looks like through here. So if you notice, we are, it's kind of hard to tell because we're recording, but so, and then, you know, so anyways, you'll get kind of there. And then you notice up on the top right here, depending on if you change the frequency on this, this is set to the default frequency. If later on you want to change it to something else, you can. If you find there's a lot of interference with whatever you're doing. When you do that, this is what changes the frequency. So as I said, if I go down, you see, or up a frequency, so there's several different frequencies. This has 8 frequencies in it. I believe this has either 3 or 4 different options, depending on, you know, because there's only certain ones you're allowed to actually technically use without having a license. Actually, even if you have a license, there's certain ones you can't use. So this one being American, they have already locked it to the ones that you can't use anyways. Anything else that is involved with this, like how to record and things like that, you probably want to read through the manual to learn a couple different things. As I said, this also has built-in audio, so if you had a craft that had a speaker or, you know, a microphone on it, you could hook up speakers and listen to it. Eventually, as you're flying, you'll start to be able to just listen to the craft, and you can tell when something's not right with it. That's kind of just one of those things that you learn. So some guys like to actually have a microphone hooked up on it to be able to hear it. That pretty much concludes talking about the goggles. We'll talk about the craft next.